Unlocking love, little girl offers $50 for one day with a dad. What happened next is incredible. In a cozy suburban neighborhood, where the sun painted golden hues on the sidewalks, lived an 8-year-old girl named Lily. With sparkling blue eyes that mirrored the open skies, Lily held tight to a wish, an innocent dream of a father-daughter relationship she had never truly known. In a modest home shared with her single mother, Sarah, a devoted waitress working long, late shifts to make ends meet, she often felt the weight of absence heavy on her heart. Each time she passed the busy park on the weekends, laughter echoed around her. The sun seemed to smile on fathers tossing glimmering frisbees, daughters giggling with delight. Lily had a plan. Gathering her saved $50 birthday money, an idea blossomed: she would find a dad for a day. She'd offer her precious savings to any man willing to step into those shoes, to bask in the warmth of a fleeting connection with her. Sharing her sweet but bold idea with the close-knit community, reactions varied. Some chuckled, some frowned, and some raised eyebrows in dismay, questioning the innocence of a girl who sought such a precious bond. Among the curious spectators were Mr. Anderson, a retired veteran longing for purpose, and Tom, a busy father racing through life, oblivious to the treasured moments slipping by. The anticipation bloomed thicker each day as men stepped forward, inspired by her earnest wish. But as Lily attempted to bond with each of these hopefuls, the encounter spiraled into awkwardness, disappointment gnawing at the edges of her spirit. With each meeting, the sunshine in her eyes began to dim. She clutched her cherished $50 bill, feeling the heaviness of her yearning seep into her heart, like sand slipping through her fingers. Just when despair started to creep in, a struggling father named Jake heard of her quest. Reminded of the time he lost with his own daughter, he found not just an offer but a lifeline, a chance to reclaim his missed moments of joy. Their day began with tentative greetings, a nervous energy pulsating between them like a forgotten melody. But as the sun climbed higher, so did their laughter, enveloped in shared stories of dreams and heartaches. They rode bikes through the neighborhood, joy lighting their faces like the warm summer sun, and indulged in ice cream cones that melted far too quickly under their delight. Community members, once curious onlookers, cheered, forming bonds that created a blanket of support weaving together their shared stories of struggle. However, as humor led to heartfelt connections, an unexpected call shattered the blissful moment. A neighbor's worried voice, laden with urgency, unveiled deeper issues lurking in their tight-knit community. Questions about life's harshness clouded the warmth they found together. How could a little girl and a man entangled in their own journeys of heartbreak navigate a world filled with uncertainty? That question lingered, a bittersweet reminder of the fragility and hope living in the corners of their experience. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In that moment, as worries danced in the air, Lily and Jake stood at a crossroads. Could they unlock the true meaning of family despite the chaos surrounding them? The clock kept ticking, their day dwindling away, yet a spark had ignited, filling the air with fragile hope and connection, just waiting for the next chapter to unfold. As the laughter faded and tension thickened around them, Lily looked up at Jake, her hopeful blue eyes searching his face for answers. The sun hung high, casting playful shadows through swaying trees, yet her heart sank as she felt the grip of worry tightening like a noose. How could they enjoy their day when the world around them was unraveling? Do you think everything will be okay? Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper, the innocence of a child confronting the weight of reality. Jake, still reeling from the urgency of the neighbor's call, knelt down to meet her gaze. You know, sometimes life throws us unexpected challenges. But you've already shown incredible courage by reaching out like this. That's a big deal, Lily. He could see her demeanor shifting, she was processing the reality with the grace of someone far beyond her years. Jake felt a prick of sadness in his heart, remembering moments he missed with his own daughter. Let us not let worry steal this day from us. How about we do something fun and forget about everything for a little while? A small spark danced in her eyes again. Like what? She asked, tilting her head slightly, as if considering limitless possibilities. Let us build a fort at the park. Jake exclaimed, his excitement infectious. A fortress of imagination where we can be whoever we want to be. Can we be pirates? Lily beamed. Absolutely. And fearless explorers sailing the high seas, Jake replied, feeling the heaviness lift momentarily as Lily's laughter filled the air. Their bikes became their ship, transforming the open park into an expanse of ocean waves, their imaginations guiding them through. Minutes turned into hours as they built their fort with sticks, leaves, and wildflowers, laughter floating between them like a sweet melody. Children nearby paused their games, mesmerized by the energetic duo transforming the park landscape. The edges of Jake's scars began to fade as he watched Lily smile, the sunlight illuminating her face, painting a perfect picture of joy. But their majestic ship was about to encounter turbulent waters. As the afternoon sun began to wane, they heard a raised voice nearby, a heated argument erupting between two neighbors. The joyful bubble surrounding Lily and Jake felt at risk of bursting, disintegrating into a harsh reality. Instinctively, Lily sought Jake's arm, clinging tightly, insecurity threading its way back through their newfound bond. He glanced back toward the disturbance, feeling those old familiar pangs of helplessness surge within him. Gritting his teeth, he fought against the encroaching shadows that threatened to overshadow their beautiful escape. Lily, Jake said softly, kneeling again so they were on eye level, it's okay to feel scared sometimes. But it's also okay to rise above those feelings, to let the good we created today outshine the bad. But what if it doesn't? She asked, uncertainty painted on her little face. He smiled gently, wishing he could shield her from all of life's worries. Then we keep creating our own good, one moment at a time. Reassured, Lily's soft chuckles began to mingle with the echoes of the argument behind them, but she still seemed uneasy. Just then, they noticed Mr. Anderson approaching with a concerned expression, drawn to the commotion. Hey, is everything all right? He asked, peering between them and the shouting neighbors. Jake straightened, meeting Mr. Anderson's gaze. He saw a flicker of understanding in the old man's eyes, a shared connection threading through the air around them. We're just trying to find our way, he replied. Little did they know, the path they were carving together would lead to unexpected revelations about not just family, but what it truly means to stand strong together even when the storm clouds rolled in. As they braced against the storm of life swirling around them, how would they navigate their purpose amidst chaos? The emotional storm brewing in the community had only just begun to unveil deeper truths, leaving them standing at a threshold of hope, ready to face the unknown together. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that danced across the playground, and Jake felt the weight of anxiety creeping back into their little sanctuary. Mr. Anderson's eyes narrowed as he listened to the escalating argument, the tension palpable in the warm air. Lily's fingers tightened around Jake's arm, and for a second, he could feel her heart race. Let us move a little closer to the trees, Jake suggested, hoping to create a buffer between them and the discordant voices. Lily nodded, her eyes wide with curiosity and concern, and together they stepped back toward the leafy embrace of nature. As they settled under a big oak, the argument still echoed faintly, but the rustling leaves wrapped around them like a protective cloak. Jake looked at Lily, desperate to reignite the sparkle in her eyes. How about we make up new pirate stories? He proposed, shifting gears. The bravest pirate queen sails the fiercest seas. Lily's face brightened slightly, her imagination kicking in. What if she finds a treasure map? She said with an eagerness that reminded him of better days. And it's full of candy. Yes. They could fight off the candy monsters guarding it. Jake laughed, diving into her enthusiasm. The laughter came easier now. They painted vivid tales of adventure, creating worlds where soldiers turned back into friends, and fears melted like ice cream on a sunny day. Just as Jake began to feel victorious, envisioning their triumphant escape from reality, the noise from the argument escalated, cracking through their bubble once more. "What if we make it a secret?" Lily suggested, her voice nearly as loud as the shouting behind them. "A secret hideout only we know." "Yes." Jake cheered, momentarily forgetting the turmoil around them. "That's how our treasure will be safe from everyone." But then, without warning, the argument reached a boiling point. A heavy thud echoed towards them, causing Lily to jump. Her innocent eyes brimmed with fear. The sky felt darker as the noise amplified. A voice shouted something that sounded like a threat. Jake felt his heart plummet as he glanced at Mr. Anderson, whose face had tightened with concern. "Stay close to me, okay?" Jake said, trusting his instinct that the uncertainty might ripple out further. It was like time slowed down. As they huddled together under the old oak, he caught Mr. Anderson's glance again, this time brimming with something else. Was it worry, or something deeper? "Maybe we should go home," Lily whispered, her small body trembling. Jake looked into her blue eyes, searching for strength within their innocent depths. As he opened his mouth to reassure her, a loud crash shattered the air, sending a ripple of shock through the crowd in the park. The argument erupted, fists raised, voices screaming. Children nearby scattered, and adults exchanged frantic glances. Jake felt like he was stuck in a nightmare, uncertainty coiling tighter within him. "Is that what happens when adults forget how to talk?" Lily asked, her voice barely audible as they ducked into the warm shade. "Sometimes," Jake replied, laying a gentle hand on her shoulder. "But we don't have to let it take away our happiness." Yet, even he wasn't sure how to buffer the harsh realities outside their little world. Suddenly, Mr. Anderson was at their side again, urgency on his face. "We need to leave now," he said, looking toward the fray with resolute determination. "It's getting dangerous." Fear coursed through Jake as he realized that the safety he had tried to create for Lily was slipping away. "Can we go back to our fort?" Lily asked softly, her eyes pleading. Jake glanced back at the disputes, weighing his options. The once vibrant colors of the park felt muted now, like the very world around them was darkening. Would they find safety at home, or would the chaos of adulthood swallow them whole? As they huddled together, the arguments of neighbors echoed loudly and cruelly. "Let us get out of here, Lily," Jake said, gripping her hand tight while uncertainty lanced through him. Could he protect her from the reality of a world where even treasure maps turned into disputes? With every step he took towards their bikes, a new question loomed: would they ever find their way back to the laughter that once felt so close? Jake and Lily dashed toward their bikes, the tension behind them still roiling like a storm. Mr. Anderson stayed close, eyes darting as if anticipating trouble at every corner. The whole park felt different now, as if it were transformed from a playground into a battleground, leaving colors muted and joy subdued. Jake could feel Lily's small hand trembling in his grip. He wanted to promise her everything would be okay, but the fear squeezing his heart made it hard to breathe. What if they never found that laughter again? As they approached the bikes, the argument erupted into a frenzy. A group of children had gathered, wide-eyed and frozen. The air was thick with confusion and fear, and Jake could almost taste it. "Get on the bike," Mr. Anderson urged, glancing back nervously. Jake nodded, urgency replacing his uncertainty. They hopped on, pedaling furiously away from the chaos, the sound of shouting fading behind them. The roads felt like narrow tunnels, leading them farther from the turmoil. Sunlight filtered through the tall trees, illuminating their path as they rode. Jake could feel Lily's body loosen up, her grip on the handlebars becoming steady again. It was just like when they played pirates on the open sea. Focus on the adventure, let the worries drift away. "Do you think they'll be okay?" Lily asked, glancing back over her shoulder, worry creeping back into her voice. "I hope so," Jake replied, though doubt seeped into his answer. "Sometimes, it just gets a little too loud." She nodded but didn't say anything more. Jake's heart ached for her innocence, the way she still held on to the hope that everything would always resolve itself, like in fairy tales. He wanted to be her brave knight, always leading her away from danger, back to safety and giggles. As they approached the tree-lined path leading to their neighborhood, a sight caught Jake's eye. Old Mr. Thompson, a friend of his dad's, sat on his porch. A battered dog rested beside him. The man waved, sending a smile that shone brighter than the horizon. It was a reminder that not everything was lost. Maybe even within all the noise, there were still tiny pockets of peace. "Let us stop and say hi," Jake suggested, riding over to the porch. Lily hesitated. "But, what if he talks forever?" "It's okay," Jake reassured her, hopping off the bike. "He can tell us stories, remember? Stories don't have the same rules as adults, they don't have to end in fights." Taking a deep breath, Lily climbed off her bike and followed him onto the porch. Mr. Thompson's eyes brightened when he saw them, and for an instant, the weight of the day seemed to lift. "Jake. Lily. Good to see you too." He chuckled, scratching the dog's ear. "What brings you here today?" Jake glanced at Lily, who was already beaming at the dog. "We just escaped a fight in the park. It was scary." Mr. Thompson's smile faded slightly, but he quickly masked it with a comforting grin. "Ah, well, the world can be a rough place, can't it? But I've got some stories that might help brighten your day." Lily's eyes sparkled with interest, the magic of storytelling pulling her in. "Our brave pirate queen," Jake started, and soon, the porch was filled with laughter and joy as Mr. Thompson spun tales of adventurous seas and heroic deeds. The worries faded into the background for a moment, and it felt like the world was whole again. Yet, as Jake watched Lily lean forward, utterly engrossed, something deeper nagged at him. Could stories truly protect them from the chaos? Or would they have to face it all over again? As the sun dipped ever lower, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Jake felt a mixture of hope and dread. What would they do when the stories ended? When would the world come crashing back in? And how could he keep them both safe when the next storm hit? The laughter hung in the air, but Jake could sense the shadow beneath it. Mr. Thompson's stories were a delightful distraction, yet Jake couldn't shake the unease tightening in his chest. Lily leaned against the porch railing, eyes wide and shimmering as she shared in the joys of the pirate adventures. But Jake's mind raced ahead, spiraling with thoughts of the shouting in the park and the darkness that hid just beyond their laughter. The last word of Mr. Thompson's tale hung in the air, and the old man paused, studying the children with a knowing gaze. "You know, kids," he said softly, "life throws all kinds of storms our way. It's how we ride them out that matters." Jake wanted to tell Mr. Thompson that life shouldn't be about storms at all. He wanted to shake off that weight, those thoughts of fights and fear. But the heaviness in his heart kept him quiet. "Can we hear another one?" Lily chirped, her voice light and hopeful. Mr. Thompson chuckled again but glanced toward the setting sun. "I'd love to, but it's a big world out there, and I'm afraid it's time for you kids to get home before the dark comes creeping in." Lily pouted, but Jake felt a rush of urgency. "Let us go back," he said to her, giving her a squeeze, hoping to snag her attention. "We can ride around our block. The night air will be good for us." "Okay," she murmured, but Jake could see she wanted to resist. As they said their goodbyes, Mr. Thompson leaned close. "Remember, kids," he said, "never let the storms drown out your laughter." The ride back felt different, lighter, yet heavier at the same time. Jake steered cautiously, glancing at Lily, who hummed a little tune under her breath. He made a mental note to cheer her up, even if it meant faking a smile. But as they pedaled through their quiet neighborhood, shadows crept along the ground, and an unsettling silence grew around them. The streetlights flickered on, adding a soft glow but casting strange shapes. Suddenly, a sound echoed from a nearby alley. A scuffle, raised voices, something sharp in the air. Jake immediately slowed down, and Lily's joyful whistle stopped mid-note. They shared a look, the kind that said everything without words, a silent acknowledgement that something was wrong. "What is happening?" Lily whispered, eyes wide, her small fingers gripping the handlebars tightly. Jake thought fast, adrenaline kicking through his veins. "We should go check it out," he said, managing to sound brave, though his heart raced. Most of him just wanted to race home. But there was a part of him, the part that craved adventure, that felt drawn toward the disturbance. "Jake, I don't want to," she pleaded, biting her lip. "I know, but what if someone needs help? We can't turn our backs on that." His resolve was strong, though he wasn't sure if he was convincing her or himself. With a hesitant nod, Jake led the way toward the alley. The closer they got, the more the air buzzed with tension. Voices rose and fell, punctuated by the sound of something crashing against concrete. As they peered cautiously around the corner, the sight that greeted them sent chills racing down Jake's spine. What was supposed to be a fleeting decision was now a moment that threatened to change everything. What would they find waiting in the darkness? The scene unfolded in a flash of chaos. 3 figures loomed in the alley, shadows blending into the flickering streetlights. Jake's stomach knotted as he squinted, trying to make sense of the moment. A boy, maybe a couple of years older than him, shoved another against the wall. The victim's hands were raised defensively, panic plastered across his face. "Let go of him." Jake couldn't believe the words had escaped his lips. He felt Lily's grip tighten on his arm, her small body tensing beside him. "Shoo!" she hissed, though Jake hardly heard her. His heart thundered. He thought about retreating, about turning back and racing home, but he couldn't shake the thought that someone was in trouble. That was a feeling he didn't want to ignore. The challenger's jaw clenched. "This is none of your business," he shouted, and Jake took a step forward, grounding himself against a wave of fear. "I said let him go." Lily looked up at him, her eyes wide like saucers. "Jake, please," she whispered, fear lacing her voice. But something inside him ignited. He couldn't stand by while someone was getting hurt. The boy against the wall winced as the attacker shoved him again. "I don't have anything. Just leave me alone." "Funny, I think you do." The boy sneered, reaching into the victim's pockets. Jake felt a rush of anger. Without thinking, he surged forward. "Stop it." The alley seemed to hold its breath. The assailant turned, his surprise evident, and for a moment, the world stood still. Jake caught sight of the young boy's eyes darting between him and his aggressor. "Who do you think you are?" The attacker challenged, eyes narrowing. "Just a kid trying to do the right thing." Jake retorted, despite how small he felt standing there. Then, something unexpected happened. The boy pressed against the wall started to breathe easier, courage flickering in his gaze. Maybe Jake's defiance sparked something in him. "Back off, man. You messed with the wrong person," the victim exclaimed, voice steadier than before. Jake felt a surge of hope, seeing that spark of strength. Maybe, just maybe, they could find a way out of this together. The attacker hesitated. The increase in confidence from the kid he was pushing around seemed to unsettle him. But just as Jake sensed victory, a dark look crossed the older boy's face. "You think this is a game?" He raised his fist threateningly, and Jake's stomach dropped. The realization crashed over him like thunder. This wasn't just a scrap. This could lead to something dangerous, something he didn't quite know how to handle. "Let us get out of here, Jake." Lily whispered urgently, tugging at his sleeve, her eyes brimming with fright. And just as he was about to relent, he remembered Mr. Thompson's words. "It's how we ride out the storms." With all the courage he could muster, Jake stood tall. "I won't let you hurt him. It's not okay." The tension hung in the air, thick enough to slice. Would they fight? Would they run? Questions pinged in Jake's head as he weighed his next moves, the uncertainty twisting in his chest. And then, from behind him, a siren echoed through the night, sharp and piercing. Relief washed over Jake, but it was soon followed by something else, an electric thrill of what lay ahead, a shift in the balance of fear and bravery. "Run!" he shouted, and they did, hearts racing as they fled the alley, but the shadows weren't far behind. What awaited them just beyond the shadows? Would courage lead to safety or more danger? Jake sprinted down the alley, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The sound of distant sirens faded, but the shadows behind them were relentless. Lily's small hand felt like a lifeline. He could feel her fear pressing into him, and it made him run faster. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest, drowning out the other sounds of the night. They burst into the street, lights from passing cars flashing around them. "Where do we go?" Lily gasped, glancing back anxiously. "Anywhere but here," Jake replied, searching for a place to hide. The adrenaline made him feel invincible, but a creeping doubt edged in. What if they weren't safe? He scanned the street, looking over his shoulder, hoping the attackers wouldn't follow them out of the alley. "Over there," Lily shouted, pointing to a nearby park, the iron gates swinging open as if inviting them in. They dashed inside, the tall trees creating a protective canopy overhead. Underneath the branches, they slowed down, panting and catching their breath. Jake leaned against a wooden bench, trying to steady himself. He looked at Lily, whose face was flushed, eyes wide with emotion. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice a mix of concern and disbelief at what had just happened. "No, Jake. I was so scared," she exclaimed, her voice shaking. Tears brimmed in her eyes, and Jake felt a wave of guilt crash over him. He had put them in danger by intervening. I thought we had to help him," Jake stammered, looking away. He felt heavy with responsibility, and he didn't know how to fix it. "But I didn't mean to scare you." Lily wiped a tear away. "You were brave, though. You really stood up for him." She paused, then added, "But what if they come after us?" "They won't," Jake said, though the uncertainty crept back into his thoughts. There were sirens. They ran away. He hoped he was right. A moment of silence settled between them, filled only by the rustle of leaves and distant laughter from late-night park-goers. Then Jake heard something more troubling, the sound of footsteps crunching on gravel. His heart raced again. They weren't alone. "Jake," Lily breathed, her grip tight around his wrist. Fear radiated from her. He turned toward the sound, adrenaline flooding his senses. Emerging from the shadows was a figure, tall and lean, moving cautiously. Jake stepped forward, instinctively placing himself between Lily and the stranger. The figure halted, having sensed Jake's stance. Hey, it's okay," the stranger called out, hands raised in a placating gesture. "I'm not here to hurt you." Jake tensed, squinting at the shadows. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a young man who looked to be a few years older than Jake. He wore a worn jacket and had an earnest expression. "I saw what happened back there," he said, his voice steady. "I didn't want to interrupt, but I'm glad you two got out." Jake didn't let his guard down. "What do you want?" he demanded, taking a small step back. "I'm just trying to help," the stranger replied, calm and composed. "I've dealt with those guys before. They're bullies. You did the right thing." "Were you following us?" Lily asked, her voice still trembling. "No, I was just leaving a friend's house. I never followed you on purpose." He looked at them, gauging the tension hanging in the air. "But I know a safe place we can go. Trust me." Jake felt torn. Trust this stranger or hide away in the park? The weight of his decision loomed large, but the thought of being vulnerable again, it shook him. "Jake, should we?" Lily asked softly, peering up at him with those wide, innocent eyes that mirrored his worry. As uncertainty flickered within him, the electric joy of courage battled against the heaviness of fear. Was he ready to take another leap? And what could this stranger possibly reveal about the shadows that chased them? "Okay," Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Lead the way." But was trusting this stranger the right choice, or another dangerous step into the unknown? The stranger turned, motioning for Jake and Lily to follow. They took hesitant steps, Jake still feeling the weight of protectiveness on his shoulders. The shadows around them seemed to watch as they moved deeper into the park, the distant laughter fading into a hushed tension. "Name's Alex," the stranger said, glancing back to make sure they were still close behind. "And you should know, this place it's safe. I promise." He led them down a winding path, illuminated sporadically by flickering lampposts, their light struggling against the encroaching darkness. "What makes it safe?" Jake asked, his curiosity mixing with a touch of skepticism. Could they really trust this guy? "There's a community center nearby," Alex explained. "It's a good place to hide out. And there are plenty of people around who can help if things go sideways." He looked at Jake steadily. "Trust me, you'll want to meet them." Lily squeezed Jake's hand tighter, her small fingers entwining with his, grounding him. He felt her silent plea for reassurance. "Stay close," he whispered to her, trying to keep his voice steady. Just as Alex promised, they reached a modest building tucked behind thick trees. The light spilled from the windows, appearing warm and inviting. It felt like a beacon amidst the uncertainty. As they approached, the sound of laughter and muffled voices filled the air, mingling with the fresh scent of grass and earth. "See? You're safe now," Alex said with a slight smile. "Come on, let us get you inside." But as they stepped into the center, Jake noticed the atmosphere shift. A group of teens sat scattered about, some working on projects, others talking animatedly. They looked up as Jake, Lily, and Alex entered. Their gazes passed over the newcomer with curiosity, then landed on Jake and Lily, eyes widening. "Is that them?" one girl whispered, glancing at Alex. "Are you okay?" Another voice called out, a tall boy approaching with concern etched across his features. "Yeah, we just needed a place to catch our breath," Jake replied, feeling exposed. The warmth of being around others felt comforting yet vulnerable. Alex stepped closer to the boy. "They're safe now. Just came from a rough spot. Can we get them some water or something?" He turned back to Jake and Lily. "Trust me. They'll help." The boy nodded decisively. "Yeah, I can get some drinks." He pulled a few bottles from a cooler nearby and handed them to Jake and Lily. "Thanks," Jake muttered, the simple act providing more relief than he expected. Lily, however, seemed to shine with hope, something about this place igniting a spark in her eyes, her earlier fear momentarily forgotten. "Are you two okay?" the girl from earlier asked again, genuine concern in her tone. "You can hang out here until you feel better. We got your back." Jake glanced at Alex, who gave him an encouraging nod. He could see that these kids had built a safe haven for themselves, a sanctuary against the world outside. What if they all banded together? "Let us take a minute," Jake decided, feeling a flicker of something warm and new growing within him. He needed this moment of stillness. As they found seats around a worn-out table, conversations buzzing around them, the intensity of earlier began to fade. Lily smiled at him, her face radiating an innocence that melted Josh's walls just a bit. He realized, maybe trusting wasn't such a leap into the unknown after all. Maybe it was the first step towards something brighter. What happens next? He wondered aloud, as laughter erupted from a nearby group. But that question lingered in his mind. What had they just walked into? The moment felt fragile, vibrating with possibilities. They had made it this far, but what awaited them in this new world? And then Jake heard it, the pulse of laughter intertwined with muffled conversations. Was this the help they needed, or just another play at danger? His heart raced again, but this time, it wasn't just fear. It was anticipation. What were they stepping into now? Lily leaned closer to Jake, her soft breath brushing against his ear. Do you think they're really going to help us? Jake's heart tightened. I hope so, he whispered back, trying to mask the uncertainty creeping through him. He wanted to believe, wanted to feel that sense of hope bubbling up inside them. But the shadows of that past night clawed at him, forcing him to be vigilant. Around the table, the group engaged in their chatter, teasing one another and swapping stories. It was a normalcy that felt foreign to Jake, like stepping into a house that felt alive while his inside was still gray and quiet. What's your name? Asked the girl with kind eyes, her brown hair in messy braids. I'm Lily, she replied, her voice brightening. And I'm Jake, he added, not quite matching her energy. Nice to meet you. I'm Mia, the girl introduced herself, her smile infectious. We heard about what you went through. Sounds scary. With each sentence, she leaned in a little closer, intent on drawing them out of their shells. Jake felt the warmth spreading from Mia's presence. It was comforting, like the way his old blanket used to feel on winter nights. The warmth of home seeped into every fiber of his being. Yeah, Jake replied, forcing himself to sound relaxed. But it's better now. Another teen, a boy with spiky hair named Ethan, joined the conversation. If you need anything, just ask. We look after each other here. Jake appreciated the offer, but a familiarity tugged at him. How did you all end up here? Mia glanced around, her smile fading slightly. It's a long story for most of us, her voice lowered. Some families aren't what they should be. We all needed a place to belong. There was a pause, the air growing heavy with unspoken truths. Jake exchanged glances with Lily, sensing that the stories were more than just words. They were lifelines, strings of connection between broken hearts searching for hope. Even if you felt alone, you don't have to be anymore, Mia said, her voice steadying. We're stronger together. You can be. Jake's chest swelled at her words. He thought of Mia and the others who had created their own family here, away from their pain. But could he embrace that? Could he become part of something new? Lily suddenly perked up, her eyes widening as she spotted something across the room. Look, Jake! She exclaimed, pointing. A group of kids were working on a mural, splashes of colors blending harmoniously as laughter flowed freely among them. The joy was palpable, drawing Jake in. He watched as they splattered paint like it was glittering magic, weaving something beautiful from chaos. What's this place really about? Jake asked, feeling the weight of lustrous possibilities glimmering in the air. It's about creating, and healing, and being yourself, Mia explained, her voice warm like sunlight. You can be whoever you want here. We support each other. If you can dream it, we'll help you build it. As she spoke, Jake felt his pulse quickening. The remnants of fear began to dissolve, chipped away by the surge of belonging and hope. He found himself wanting to dream again, to believe in something better. What if we could be part of this? He thought, glancing at Lily, who still had that spark in her eye. But just as the thought solidified, a loud crash broke the moment, sending a ripple of alarm through the room. Chairs scooted back, eyes darting toward the source of the commotion. What was that? Jake asked, feeling dread sink back into his gut. Mia was already moving, eyes wide. It's probably nothing, but we should check it out. Jake's heart raced. Could this be the challenge they didn't see coming? Would their newfound safety be threatened just as quickly as it appeared? Stay close, okay? He told Lily, tightening his grip on her hand as they followed Mia and Ethan toward the noise. As they stepped cautiously into the hallway, Jake felt the pulse of uncertainty return. What happened next could change everything. But would it lead them further into the danger they left behind, or solidify their place in this new journey? Jake moved forward cautiously, Lily gripping his hand tightly. The buzz of laughter that had enveloped the room dimmed, replaced with anxious whispers. As they transitioned into the dim hallway, a cluster of kids gathered around a door slightly ajar. "What happened?" Jake asked, eyes scanning the crowd for answers. "Someone tripped over the paint," Mia said, her voice steady but carrying an edge of concern. "We're all okay, but the mural might need some touch-ups." A wave of relief washed over Jake. Perhaps it was nothing serious, perhaps they could regroup and embrace the joy that simmered in the air. But as they drew closer, Jake noticed the tension in the kids' shoulders. Something felt off. In one corner of the hallway, two older boys stared intently at the mess on the floor, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is a disaster. We work too hard for you to just mess it up." One of them shouted. "Dude, it was an accident." A smaller voice protested, the guilt hanging heavy over him. Jake's heart lurched. The playful energy could dissolve in a heartbeat, just like that. Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Do you think we should help?" Jake felt a swell of bravery. "Yeah, let us do it," he replied, urging her forward. "It's what we do now. We help each other." Stepping into the circle of onlookers, Jake raised his voice above the escalating conflict. "Hey! Isn't it just paint? We can fix it, right?" The older boys turned in surprise, momentarily taken aback by the sudden presence of newcomers. "Who are you guys?" one of them asked, skepticism shadowing his expression. "We're new here," Lily piped up, her voice ringing out with innocent bravery. "But we want to help." Jake could see a flicker of uncertainty pass through the older kids. Maybe they weren't expecting to be challenged this way. "Yeah," Jake agreed, keeping his gaze steady. "If we all work together, it'll just become part of the art." The smaller boy nodded, visibly grateful. "We can do that together." As the group began to pick up the fallen paint cans and gather rags, Jake felt a surge of hope ripple through him. Maybe they were all pieces of a bigger painting, each contributing something unique to the canvas of life. "Let us make it the best mural ever," Lily encouraged, excitement igniting a spark in her eyes. Her presence had a way of lifting spirits, of reminding everyone why it mattered to create, to bond, to truly belong. With sounds of laughter swelling back into the air, Jake lifted a brush, passing it to one of the younger kids nearby. "You want to paint, too?" "Really?" The boy's face lit up, brightening the atmosphere more than the overhead lights. "Absolutely." Each of them contributed a stroke, colors splashing together in a mosaic of hues: purple, green, vibrant orange. The mural transformed, gaining a life of its own, intertwining their narratives into one vibrant story. As they blended colors, the earlier tension faded like the afternoon glow. Mia stepped back, admiring their handiwork. "See, it's already so much better." Lily beamed, pride evident in her voice. "We really did it." Jake felt lighter, basking in the warmth of collective accomplishment, the sense of belonging growing stronger. The laughter returned, streaming around them like sunlight breaking through clouds. "I think this is what it means, to stand together," Jake murmured to Lily, who nodded enthusiastically. "Just like brave pirates," she added, her smile radiating joy and strength. And as the mural took form, so did their collective resolve, a commitment to stand side by side against whatever storms awaited them outside those doors. Yet, even amidst the celebration, a small thread of anxiety lingered. Life outside could be harsh. Just as Jake grasped at the joy of the present, he knew tomorrow might pose another challenge. But that's when he looked down at Lily, at her bright smile, her blue eyes filled with promise. Together, they would navigate whatever was thrown their way. As night blanketed the horizon, they stood together as a small community, their fears dulled by emotions of unity and resilience. "Never let the storms drown out your laughter," Jake recalled Mr. Thompson's words, weaving back into his thoughts like a soothing balm. And just then, he truly believed that they would take their story, whatever it may be, and make it a beautiful and extraordinary journey together. With each stroke of paint, they built not just a mural, but a family that would face tomorrow's storms, guiding one another through. As laughter enveloped the room, Jake held tightly to the idea that hope and transformation were alive, right there with them, through it all. The night deepened, blanketing them in quiet reassurance, and Jake whispered to himself, "We can do anything, together." As they watched the colors dry, Jake realized they had unlocked love, a bond where laughter could dispel the fears looming on the horizon. It was a new start, and that meant everything. If you felt this journey with us, if you believe in the power of connection and community, then now is that moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that continue the magic of transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm that spread our message far and wide. Comment below your feelings about this story. Let us know how you felt as we painted our journey. And wait, yes, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation, because every single connection matters. You need to show your support now, so we can keep these powerful stories alive. Don't wait not even one more second.